the reparations, the launching of the Reparations Research Center at the University of the West Indies. But then I recall that Sister Sandra was present in St. Vincent. Am I right, sisters?
You are right.
If you want to send out greetings now to our people and so on.
Blessed love to all the listeners and to Africans near and far, those who are yet to come and those who have passed, give thanks.
Yes. You were at some of those conferences in Barbados that we usually have?
Yes, I have been trotting this road for a while, so I would have attended as many of those conferences as I can, and where I wasn't able to attend in person, I would have been represented and had reporting back on what would have taken place. But I was physically there in St. Vincent, in Antigua, and I have been physically present in a number of conversations around our liberation, repatriation, repair, and things of that nature.
Right, and I say all of that to say that you're eminently qualified along this journey. You, at the press conference here in Jamaica, well, you made a presentation at the symposium, am I correct?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you spoke on what was your area of?
Well, one of the projects that I'm looking at right now is the work we have to do as Africans to rehumanize and reverse the dehumanizing project that Europeans and namely Britain and other nations have worked on. So Africans have been seen for quite some time as less than human. So a lot of effort has gone into that, and we are seeking to reverse the impact of those efforts. So my presentation would have been around the dehumanizing and the recovery from and personhood, basically.
We reverse the whole dehumanizing of black people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, really looking at what was done to us and what continues to be done to us, because some people speak of post-trauma,
Mm-hmm.
but what I want to put forward is that we are continually traumatized by these states, and so to speak of it as something that has happened in the past and to request forgiveness for something that has happened in the past is something of a futile effort. I think we need to be recognizing that we are actually still enduring the trauma, and we are in a, well, let's call it a war.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, and at the press conference now at the end of the symposium up at the University of the West Indies just last week, at the press conference you asked a very pertinent question which was not answered by the panels who were taking questions. That question had to do with the Mahafa. The Mahafa. In other words, those that have gone before. What do we plan to do in regard to those that have gone before? Was that the gist of the question?
That is partly it, but more pointedly, my question was related to the Africans who have been subject to this whole dehumanizing project, and we have endured not only the impact of marginalization, but we have been scattered as a people, and the scattering of African people also resulted in some of us being sent to Europe. So we are Africans in Europe, but we are not seen by Europe as the children of Europe. So when we look at issues along reparations, repair, and healing, if we just speak to Africans who are in the Caribbean, there's a whole family of Africans who came through the Caribbean who are left out. So my question was, are we considering the Africans who are also in Europe when we are making these efforts to seek repatriation and repair. There are Africans abroad who actually understand the system very well. But if they don't feel connected to this current thrust, this current movement, I just wonder how successful we will be. So the question was raised to ensure that we don't forget our family in the diaspora.
And as you mentioned that now, you're an authority in that area. Because we have here a book written by you, The Way We See It. That's the title of the book. And I've just started reading it. I haven't finished it yet. Just get it. But I like some of the things that I see because it's consistent with some of the things we have said repeatedly on this program. For example, there's a part where you say, and this is the author's voice, in response to research findings, I also rename some familiar terms. For example, the words slave and slavery are replaced where appropriate with the words enslaved and enslavement, to shift the emphasis onto a dehumanizing crime against humanity rather than a respectable business transaction in human trafficking.
Yes.
We don't like the word slaves at all. Explain that nice little passage there for us.
Okay. So the thing about Britain and Europeans and people who have been trained by that environment is that we learn to be polite. And some things actually need to be confronted.
Yes.
When we speak about trade, we are actually speaking about terror, trauma, and crimes. But we don't refer to that event in these ways. We use the English language to have the conversation. I would want to argue that until we confront this attempt to clean up this conversation, we won't actually be able to undo the harm that was done. So part of what some of us are doing is attempting to claim back the language. We talk about the Mangamizi. We use Kiswahili words to really only begin to communicate the degree of harm that was done. English is a very funny language, and I often say that it's not my first language because there are some things that have been done to us that English doesn't allow us to articulate. So when we talk about trauma and harm and rape and murdering and exploitation, and we put it under the nice package of trade, it almost sounds like a civil interaction where the parties were equal. That is not what took place. We now have a situation where we are suffering from the impact of nations that came in and exploited our nature and our power and have positioned us as objects rather than people. So part of what this work is about is to revisit and reconfront an occurrence in history which has resulted in us being ashamed, really, to utter words like enslavement. We have been attacked and continue to be attacked, but it is referred to as a trade, a transatlantic slave trade. No slaves were taken from Africa. People were forcibly removed from Africa, and we still suffer the trauma of that. Having arrived in the Caribbean, we also find that we become migrant. So we are working to enrich someone else's life experience, and then we travel. And when we travel, we leave our children and our elders behind as we try to create a new life for ourselves. So when we reach the other side, and we reach Europe, we find that we are marginalized. We become something called black. So we continue to be dehumanized. We're not referred to in the same ways as we refer to other nations. Our children suffer as a result of this project, which is referred to in very interesting English terms, but we continue to suffer trauma. So we are separated from our family in Africa. We come to the Caribbean. We work to enrich other nations. Then some of us travel to Europe, leaving our elders, and some of us leave our children, and we work to enrich others there too. So we're continually separating from our families, and what that results in is an interruption in our cultural transference. So we're continually traumatized by the experience of being an African in a world that is more Eurocentric than anything else. So some of us are sending our children back to the Caribbean because we recognize that the system in Europe doesn't treat us fairly. So once again, we are separated from our family. This continual separation as we seek to grow and develop and repair causes us trauma. So we have now families who are scattered. Originally it was forcibly, then we are scattered because we are trying to recover from something that was done to us, and we're continually traumatized. But of course we use polite language, and we do not point the finger at the true culprits. So that's what this project is about. This project is about recognizing that many efforts were made to dehumanize us, and when that project was not as successful as others would have wanted it to be, we were then pathologized. So if we're not dehumanized, we are considered to be malfunctioning. So we're either a threat to others, or we're exotic, or we're lazy.
Or we're mad.
Or we're mad, we're schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we get all these labels attached to us, which continues that effort to dehumanize us.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you. And what pains me more now is that our own African brothers and sisters continue the dehumanizing. For example, when people talk about, university use it a lot, the transatlantic slave trade, you know, just like what you're saying, that is all part of the plan to make it look civil, make it look like it was just trading in goods. We were just trading. We were not killing. We were not murderers. We were not butchers. Yes, what I mean? And that now is what hurt me now. It's bad enough that they did that to us, and they are free to put whatever label they want. But we are not free to put that on ourselves. We are not free to be calling it nice terms. The year of the transatlantic slave trade, the year of the African this and that. You know what I mean? We need to look and say, no. This wasn't no Atlantic slave trade. This was downright murder. When you have a ship leaving out with 200 people and arriving in Jamaica with less than quarter the amount of brothers and sisters that left out of Africa, that ain't no trade. That is murder. That is wickedness and evil on the part of white people. And we need to spell it out stern and strong. And stop giving it these fancy labels that I notice a lot of these university professors and lecturers like to pretty it up and call it all these nice, fancy, descriptions. I'm not in that boat at all. I ain't no slave, and we must stop calling ourselves slaves. You know, I have a little book that I print, and I quote Walter Mondlane. I'm going to see if I have it here with me in regards to that. I know the university bookshop says we can't carry that book, you know. They don't want to carry a book like that, you know, that says that we must stop using the word slaves. They don't want their professors and their doctors there to stop using the word. That has to be our camp. We cannot call ourselves slaves.
So can I come in here?
Oh yes, certainly.
So in this humanizing project, in this attempt to help us repair and claim back our personhood, what I would want to offer is that we recognize that in all efforts to have us dehumanized, we would have been taught by others. And in the teaching of us by others, we would not have been told about our greatness before that intervention in our history that attempted to dehumanize us. We would not have been told about our greatness. We would not have been told about our African systems. We would not have been given an alternative frame of reference. And so, although I can hear the frustration that there is that the universities are using certain language and schools are using certain language, part of what I am keen to do is have us remember that we didn't teach ourselves. So we bought into a system that taught us using language, offering up or proposing that we look through a particular lens at this incident in our history. So the part of the legacy of that is the using of this language. So academics in a university or teachers in a school or just civil society are going to use this language that you and I are speaking of that is not appropriate because that's a language that we adopted. It's the language that we were introduced to in a schooling system. So one of the things that I spoke about at the recent conference and that I speak about in my work is the importance of returning to some of the ancient guidelines like know thyself. It requires that we actually educate ourselves. We have been schooled. So we have to accept the fact that we are using language based on the fact that we were schooled into a particular system. A system that held nations up as being right and us as being wrong. We are now told by those nations that we should just get over it. So why are we still hung up on the idea that there was this manganese and as a result we are now impoverished and they are rich as a result of our efforts? Why are we still anxious and angry and demanding reparations? It's because some of us have now gone through that process and we continue to go through that process of knowing self. So we're in recovery. We are seeking out our own knowledge systems. But as we do that, we have to recognize that many of us did not know what we know now. So I think it would be important for us to remain compassionate. Not that we're going to procrastinate, but we should employ some level of compassion when we recognize that a very good job was done on us. And so in the university and in the schools and in other aspects and spheres of life, people will be using that language because we did not teach ourselves our systems.
You know, as you mentioned that, I come to a section here. Sister Amani Smith. This is a sister that has spoken on this program many times. She has written the book, The Twins of Tutu. Sister Amani, she has lived in Ghana over 10 years. And Sister Amani now, she is going to start on November the 7th. From the 7th of November to December the 6th. She's going to be starting classes and introduce the Twi, T-W-I, Twi language. That's the language, the main language of Ghana, the main language of the Akan people. She will be teaching this language. Those who are interested to get in touch with her, you can call her at 793-2897. 793 2897 for information of start learning an African language, the Twi language. And this is the language of many of the Akan people. Many of us came from the western part of Africa, and this is an original language to us. She'll be starting these classes on November the 7th and going right up until December the 6th. That's Sister Amani. And I must congratulate Sister Amani on taking this step. Please, those who can respond, please do so. If it's even to go and learn 10 words, learn 20 words, learn a sentence, learn some names, learn some, how we greet one another, you know, and so on. You know, that can help us. So please, remember that now. Telephone number, 793-2897. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to join you in congratulating her.
Yes.
We often move to learn Spanish and German and Portuguese and other languages. Mm-hmm. We're even seeking to learn Chinese. I think that all efforts should be made to learn African languages. Our tongue has become somewhat lazy. And so when we hear African names or we speak to people who are direct from the continent, sometimes we are finding it difficult to be able to pronounce names, or even to be able to utter from our core some of the words that we want to say, because our tongues have become lazy. So I would want to join you in congratulating our sister Amani, and really encourage people to join her class.
Absolutely. I also want to mention that pretty soon we're going to be speaking to Carlos Djedje. Carlos Djedje, that's D-J-E-D-J-E. Carlos, it's actually spelled with a D, but it's pronounced, the D tend to be silent, and we say Djedje. Now, Carlos Djedje is from South Africa, and he has been singing some beautiful, very beautiful reggae, long before Lucky Dube and others that you may be more popular and know. You know, but he's now in Jamaica. He silently came in, and we're going to speak to him shortly. And we're hoping that he'll be performing somewhere that some of us can go and see him, because he's a brilliant and renowned artist, Carlos Djedje. I'm going to listen to some of his music, you know, as the night goes on. So just before we call upon him, if we're going to be on the phone line with Carlos, but just before we do, we're going to listen to one of his songs, which he has entitled, Don't Kill the Rastas. This is a song dedicated to our brothers and sisters in remembrance of the Coral Gardens massacre. So we're going to hear from Carlos Djedje shortly, both in song and in reasoning with him. We are glad and honored that we have SisDr Sandra Richards here with us. And we also have Intrigue Cassell. She was here a few weeks ago. Now, after she was here and did well, she is on her way with her journalism. Then she went now and ended up in a car accident. She wasn't driving, but another car just came and hit the car that she was in, and it decided that she was on. So she was out for a couple of weeks, in bed and all of that. So I invited Intrigue. I said, Intrigue, come to the program. You'll enjoy the program, and you'll forget about all those pains and sickness and all of them things, and realize that you're young and you have work to do, and if you lay down in a bed too long, the pain will get control over you, and next thing you know, you're sick properly, and so on. So, you know, Intrigue is here with us, and we're going to hear from her shortly. Later on, we're also going to be speaking to Ras Miguel Barnett, as he's organizing a symposium, the Peter Tosh Symposium, this weekend at the University of the West Indies. He'll be having the symposium in honor of Peter Tosh, you know, in October here. It's Peter Tosh's birthday and all of that. So we're going to be speaking to Ras Mike about what plans he has. Because I am telling people, and I myself is now very careful about what invitations I take up to go up to the university. And let me tell you why. Because I had to walk out of one symposium last Friday, and that was Walter Rodney's symposium, a symposium put on to honor the great Walter Rodney. Like I've said many times, the only time I inhaled tear gas was when I was a little youth. And if I'm not demonstrate, I just walk or look. Just go look out a race course, go see what I go on, and next thing I know, I run from the tear gas or the police them fire at the demonstrators. That was 1968, thereabouts, when the students were demonstrating in solidarity with Walter Rodney. I was also in Barbados as students when we invited Walter Rodney to our campus down there. And when he came, he because, you know, them declared him persona non grata in Jamaica, so he couldn't come back to Jamaica. But in Barbados, a group of us, we invited him. And at the hall where we had the function, there was not even room for standing. Place jam-packed, man. Brilliant. So I had to walk out of that because they had on the platform to speak someone who is advocating lesbianism and sodomitism. And that's an insult to Walter Rodney, to be inviting somebody to advocate same-sex and lesbian and that type of behavior on a Walter Rodney platform. I'll be writing to that faculty and so on, and to let them know how disgusting. And through that, I had to walk out when I see those people being introduced to speak. I had to walk out here. And therefore, I didn't hear Brother Knife, who I wanted to hear, and one and two other speakers. So I don't know, this university seems to be becoming a nest for propagation of this madness. And again, they are using languages like, you know, rights and all these things, and so on. So, brothers and sisters, you have to be careful now what they invite you to, because we don't pretend about this, you know, that once you decide that you are going to follow that road, then, you know, you don't deserve to breathe the same air that normal, natural people breathe. We who are in sync with the plants, you know, you must go off of the planet, man, and so on. Right, so we're talking to Dr. Barnett. We also want to point out for those who are nearby that they will be launching this evening up at the Bob Marley Museum. Brother IFV and company, they'll be launching the Rastafari Roots Festival that will be taking place down there in Negril in December. So for those nearby, you can still pop up at the Bob Marley Museum, where the brothers and sisters are launching that function there. Now, I see an article in today's Gleaner where Mike Henry, Member of Parliament, is saying that they should try the Queen of England. She should be tried for the atrocities of slavery. Should be put on trial. Now, I remember when I was bold enough to sue the Queen of England. And when we sued the Queen, even some lawyers come to me and say, boy, you know, them things are some mad business, you know. Disrespect the Queen and handle the Queen them way. So I said to them, when them was angle my ancestors and throw them overboard and all them things, what we doing now can compare to that. Well, I'm glad to see a member of Parliament. I said she should be put on trial. You know, we should have, just like how we try Governor Eyre, try him and find him guilty. We need to put this Queen Elizabeth on trial. So not just me alone, I say them things there. Member of Parliament, Mike Henry. So if you don't think me mad, you know, think no better. Think say me have some Parliament mad company along with myself. So let us hear a little of Carlos Djedje before we talk to him. Yeah, man.
Don't assassinate Africans or black people.
Don't kill the Rastas.
Don't kill the
Get them on the line for me now. That's why I get you know. You know, listen to the program. We are playing songs, we are playing the song now, we are playing the song them now for one village or before we call, so we are called now.
Are somebody that after all of them?
Same person, yeah man. Yeah. Try again. Them just call me, so try again. Him just call me on it, you know. On his cell phone. Where again? No, you get through. All right, we're going to go to number 8. Go to number 8. Greetings and blessings, Brother Devon. Give thanks, greetings. We just played. Nice. Well, we just played "Don't Kill the Rastas," which is a very, very moving song, and then he gives us a list of names and so on. Now,
Carlos is here. Go ahead, Miguel, because he's here. We'll bring him in soon.
Yes. Well, let me talk to him now.
And before, what we have gone around and on Sunday, because for some of the brethren, Carlos will be at the Pit for Nairbingi Center. You know, the Rascals from the Rastafari Carol Garden Benevolent Society. They are trying to raise some funds for the elders. You know, we have to try and assist the elders. So Carlos will be there, and they will have a stage presentation, also discussion. A nice evening on Sunday 22nd, Sunday coming at the Pit for Nairbingi Center there in Montego Bay. So just inviting brethren and those who want to interact, meet the South African, have a word with him. They can meet him on Sunday afternoon at the Pit for Nairbingi Center. You know, Carlos is here and us wanting to say hi to you, and you can talk to him. Our South African brother.
Give thanks. Yes. Greetings and blessings.
Yeah, man. Greetings, Father Miguel.
Give thanks, Brother Carlos Djedje. Nice that you have traveled all the way from South Africa to join us here, my brother.
Yeah, to join you people in Jamaica.
Natural. And we welcome you. We are honored to have you. And you know, when it come on to South African J, many of I and I were taken from that part of Africa also.
Yeah, man.
Yes. Now, this song here, "Don't Kill the Rastas," give us an idea, because you have named some of the names I haven't recognized, but some I do. You mentioned especially that youth, Peterson, the one with the picture that represents Soweto, when the other youth is carrying him in his arms. You mentioned his name also. You mentioned Chris Honey and a couple others. Talk to us about that song.
The song is a tribute to all the Rastas that has been ill-treated by most the system, you know.
Yes.
Not only those that I've mentioned, but those that I don't know. So
Yes.
people should think about those that I don't know. They must include them in that music, you know. Because I cannot mention everybody, but I've generalized to say this is tribute to the Rastas, especially to Paul Block, you know. When the Rastas were mowed down here in Jamaica, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
tribute to the Idrens and the SisDrs, you know. And the brothers who came from Africa during slavery time who died in the sea, you know, that we don't know their names, you know.
Yes. But we must honor them and forever heal them and don't do anything to disrespect them.
Yeah, man.
Yes. Nice. How long have you been singing reggae, you know, because you sing quite a bit of reggae over the years. How long have you been singing?
I started in the 70s, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, so it has been my dream to have this kind of genre. When reggae came to South Africa, I was already playing, but I didn't know what to name my music. So it was easy to acclimatize myself to reggae, you know.
Yes.
Because I was playing music to say, I want people to, I wanted to enlighten them about life, you know. They should know where they are coming from, where they are, where they go, you know. So it was similar to what Jamaicans were playing. So when Peter Tosh came and Jimmy Cliff, and then it was easy for me to adapt to the style of reggae, you know.
Since the 70s.
Yeah,
It's
man.
quite a while that you have been playing, man.
Yeah, because I was the first in Africa.
Yes.
A research has been done by a white man, and then it discovered that, no, I was the first even before Alpha Blondy, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. About how many, let us say, CDs or LPs that you have put out?
The first one, it was Ahoy Africa, after I met Peter Tosh.
Yes.
And then there was another one, No Apartheid.
Uh-huh.
And then there was another one, Remember Them.
Uh-huh.
And recently, Conscious Reggae.
Yes.
You know, yeah. So I'm not famous because all of them, they were constipated and they were banned and they were not played over the radio station, you know.
Okay. In those, especially
so
in those days, this music would have been banned.
Yeah.
Because of the apartheid policy.
Exactly, you know. Because I was fighting the injustice system through music, you know.
Mm-hmm.
No, not the whites, but the system that was handled by the whites. Because some whites, they are the one who uplifts me to become what I am. So it was not every white, but the system that was deciding also for the whites how to live, you know.
Yes. So for those who are listening, remember now at the Pit 4 Nyabingi Center this Sunday. That's Pit 4 over there in Granville in St. James. And Brother Carlos Djedje will be there and to give support to the brothers and sisters in raising some funds for the Coral Gardens massacre and so on. One of the things I love, Carlos, is when I hear the Africans sing reggae and they make their input when they put in some of the African languages.
Yeah.
It sounds real nice, you know.
Yeah, man.
Yes. You have any of that on this album, on the conscious reggae album? Any of that you sing?
I don't have the African language because when I came, I was from Mozambique, you know, so I couldn't sing my African language. So I had to sing the Queen's language, you know. So from there, I never venture into singing in the one of African language. So I'm used to the Queen's language, you know.
Yes.
So,
yes. Yeah, man. I want you to do some in your own language. And don't worry, we will feel the vibes and we will work it out until we understand it, you know.
Yeah.
And so on. We want to hear some of the mother tongue. As my sister was saying earlier on, they have used language to divide us. They have used language to dehumanize us.
Yeah.
And we need, as gradually and as time goes on, to get our language.
Yeah. There's one that will be coming. It's called Welcome to Africa.
Okay.
Africa. It comes from Malawi, you know. So I'm mixing Malawian language and Mozambique, you know.
I see.
Benvido, you know.
Yes. Yeah. As you mentioned Malawi, Chilimbwe. Is he a national hero there? Chilimbwe that had led the revolt against the Scots.
Yeah, he is a national hero, you know.
He's a national hero.
Yeah, man.
That's Chilimbwe. Yeah. One of the things I'd love to get some more knowledge about him. Books are available on him?
At the present moment, I don't have much knowledge, you know, because I'm still doing a research about him, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you go to Malawi a lot?
No, presently, the reason I'm also here is to work with Devon even to get the musician to repatriate through music going back to Africa, you know,
yes.
so that they can feel and understand the spiritual being of them being in Africa, you know.
Okay.
Because most of the artists, they go to America for the dollar, but it's okay for the dollar, but what about the spiritual upliftment of our African brothers, you know?
Yes. And quite a number of them sing about Africa.
We sing about Africa, but they don't want to come to Africa because we don't have a dollar, you know. But they should come to Africa and understand how we live in Africa, you know.
Yes.
The ancestors are looking for them in Africa.
The other thing is you mentioned Mozambique also, that you were there for a while.
Yeah, I was born there, but I came to South Africa when I was 10 years old, you know.
Oh, you were born in Mozambique?
Yeah.
I see. How are things there now? How are things in Mozambique?
Well, everything is fine at the present moment, apart from the wars that are still going on, you know, opposition party in the armed struggle, you know. Africa is one of the testing grounds of the ammunition of the superpowers, you know. We've got a lot of guns in Africa, and we don't know where they come from. That's why people are killing each other. You know, the mothers and the children, they are the most ones that are suffering. You know.
So you're saying that there's still fighting going on in Mozambique?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But you don't have, because they had elections some time ago and so on, you know, and Mozambique has produced people like Samora Machel, Walter Mondlane.
Yeah. So some of the guerrillas, they went back to the bush, you know.
Yes.
So we don't know what they're planning, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an easy thing. Africa is burning, you know. We need more music from Jamaica, you know, than guns that have been supplied in Africa. We need more music, you know. Jamaicans must come with more beat from the heart, not from the mind, you know.
Wow. So tell me now, you say you're organizing some musicians to come to the southern part of Africa?
Yeah. Right now I was talking to Makeba, the daughter of Burning Spear. She gave me the CD. So I'll see what to do. Tomorrow, if I happen to go to the Peter Tosh show, I know Andrew Tosh when he was in Africa, but the show was not good. Freddie McGregor, I want to talk to them so that they should come to Africa, back to Africa again, you know.
Okay. So I probably can give out Brother Devon's number.
Yeah.
And ask some of those who are listening to call and speak to you about, you know, coming to Africa and so on, you know?
Yeah, they should use Devon because Devon is the one that initiated everything for me to be here in Jamaica. It's for 3 years now that he's been working on this. But my dream started 37 years back when I was 28 years old, you know, to come to Jamaica. The heartbeat of reggae, you know. I call it the world stage of reggae, you know, Jamaica.
All right, give thanks. And for those who are listening, Brother Devon's number is 820-4414. 820-4414. That's Brother Devon Evans' number, and Brother Carlos Djedje is trotting around in the company of Brother Devon Evans. So you all can link, if you link Brother Devon, you'll be linking Carlos Djedje. Yes, go ahead, Carlos, you want to say something?
Yeah, and I was awarded an award yesterday, day before yesterday, by the mayor of St. Anne's, Michael Benalovis.
Michael Benlevis, yes.
Yeah,
he gave you an award? What he gave you? Keys to the city?
Yeah, for the contribution of reggae that I was promoting in Africa, you know.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Yes, we congratulate you on that. Very good.
Yeah, man.
Nice. And yes, go ahead.
So the bridge for everybody to come to Africa, they must come through Devon, you know.
Uh-huh.
So he's the man that is handling all the aspects of Jamaica, you know.
Beautiful. Very good. So you were born in Mozambique?
Yeah, man.
The land of Walter Mondlane?
Yeah, Mondlane.
Mondlane.
Yeah.
I see.
Mondlane.
Yes, this is what he said. He says here, the word slave, we must never use this word when referring to our great ancestors.
Yeah.
They were never slaves.
No.
They were our African mothers, our African sisters, our African brothers, African princesses, African princes, our African warriors.
Yeah, man.
Yes, don't ever use the word. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, is perpetually remembered in Mozambique, Eduardo Mondlane?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
There's a big statue of him at the main street, you know, called Eduardo Mondlane. Rua Eduardo Mondlane.
What the word before his name? What?
No, before I don't know what was it, but now it's the main street in town, you know.
Oh, the main street?
Yeah.
Is named after him?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Eduardo Mondlane, Rua. Rua means street, you know.
Okay, I see. What's the population of Mozambique?
Hey, since I left when I was 10 years old, 1960, I wouldn't tell what is the population, you know.
Yes. Oh, you haven't been there back much?
Pardon?
You haven't been there back plenty?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. All right. You see, when we here get to speak to someone who have a knowledge of South Africa, a knowledge of Malawi, a knowledge of Mozambique, and I presume you also have a knowledge of Zimbabwe.
Yeah, I went to Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm.
I visited Trevor Hall that is calling himself now with an African name, Ras Jabulan, you know.
Yes.
Because we met 1983 at the show of Peter Tosh in Swaziland. That's how I happened to know the...
Brother Jabulani.
Yeah, Ras Jabulani, Trevor Hall, you know.
Yes.
He's a Jamaican, yeah.
Yes, that lives in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, no, now he lives in Zimbabwe.
Yes. Beautiful.
He's doing quite well because he's teaching the youth about the drumming of how to drum Jamaican rhythm, you know. Because we need people of that caliber, you know, to come and teach us, you know.
Yes.
Teach our youth.
Yes.
Give respect to the elders, you know.
Yes. And it's in them, you know. It's in the youths them because it's the one DNA, you know.
Yeah, man. Like when I came here at the airport, when Devon gave me the newspaper, it was myself there and 3 people that were gowned down. My heart was broken, you know, because an injury to one Jamaican is an injury to all Jamaicans in Africa, you know.
Yes. We still have some mad people here in Jamaica, you know.
Yeah. My mission is to silence the gun globally, you know.
To silence the guns globally.
Globally. That's my mission, you know. So I wish the Jamaicans should carry on that mission also, you know. Silencing of the gun, you know.
Yes. All right, Carlos. Well, we are honored to have you. You're talking to us on Best FM. And, you know, and yes, we will. We are glad you have given us the CD. We'll continue to play some of it tonight and on other programs.
Please, because I'm coming back next day with the filming of King in the Jungle about my life when I grew up, ill-treated by the system, you know.
Yes.
So they're busy working on it in South Africa, you know.
Okay.
It was a theoretical thing. Now they want to put it on movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of your life.
Of my life. You know?
Ah, beautiful, beautiful.
Because it was not an easy life growing up in a system of apartheid, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can imagine. And singing the type of conscious songs that you have made.
Man. I was brutalized. I used to live like a fugitive, you know, running from one place to another. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a house. I had 2 broken families because of running from the system, you know. So the apartheid, so there was a time when they lock you up? No, I was running like a fugitive. They never locked me up because they couldn't get me. I see. Yeah. Somebody advised me, don't buy a car, don't own a house, because that way they will easily find you. Okay. Yeah. I really. So you have to constantly move like a nomad. Yeah. Yes. Nice, nice. Carlos, we give thanks that you have come to Jamaica. We hope more brothers and sisters will get to reason with you. Yeah, and that you know you're welcome here. Yeah, and I'm certain being with Brother Devon, you'll be well taken care of and so on. I think you met the Minister of Culture last week? No, we're going to, we missed her. This week we are going to talk to her. Okay. Because, yeah, we need to cement our relationship, you know. Uh-huh. Yeah. Sound good. Nice, Carlos. Gonna play more music and we're gonna keep in touch with you. Thank you. One Black Love International. Yeah, man. One love. Greetings and blessings. That guy. Every time. Every time. Every time. That's Carlos Djedje there online. So we're gonna play this other one now. 100 years celebration. Yes. Hola, ANC, hola. Hola, ANC, hola. Hola, 100 years ANC, hola. Hola, 100 years to come, hola. Yeah, man. Chanting, it is 100 years. Do you remember? Yusuf Tattoo, have you heard about from Fisher?
and I met him all. Let's come together, sing and celebrate. Celebrate dance. Let's come together, dance and celebrate. It is a celebration. Let's come together, clap and celebrate. It is a celebration. 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 Let's breathe. Our brothers and sisters, let's greet our mothers and fathers, let's greet our brothers and sisters, let's greet our mothers and fathers. Send us such a way, send us such a way. Brothers and